Welcome again to the Solid Signal podcast. It's August 1st, 2016 as I record this, and the subject of the podcast this week is sports blackouts. I know this podcast doesn't have a very large distribution, so I'm not going to change the world when I go out and rail about something that I feel is extremely unjust in the world of television or anywhere else. I try to be modest about my podcasting abilities. After all, I'm not a 17-year-old child, so I'm obviously not going to attract millions and millions of people. But for those of you who do listen, and by my best calculations, there's about 700 of you, I do really appreciate you spending 5 minutes listening to me and listening to me rant. So if you're ready, let's get started. Over the weekend, I had the pleasure of attending a Major League Baseball game, and I do enjoy doing that. Major League Baseball is not something that I'm incredibly passionate about, but it's something that I find extremely relaxing. There's something about the pacing of Major League Baseball that really works for me. It's not fast, it's not slow, it's not tense. It's just a nice way to spend a weekend day. I had reasonably good seats, and so I did enjoy the game, and what's even better is my favorite team won. So, why is this a problem? Why is this a bad thing? Well, I actually had set up the game to record as well because, sometimes you want to go back and look at the highlight reels and see what you didn't quite see when you were looking at the field, and that does happen. What happened when I got home? Well, I found that the game had been blacked out. I wasn't able to watch it. It didn't even record. And this made me angry. Now, it didn't make me angry because I missed the game, but that's not the point. The point is that Major League blackout rules are ridiculous. They are absurd. This is why football got rid of blackout rules, and I think baseball should too. They are way too confusing for one thing, but really, I just don't think they're necessary at all. Blackout rules were created by the league in order to make sure that stadium owners were protected and that they wouldn't lose a lot of money on ticket sales with television. Isn't that just patently absurd? I happen to have gotten these seats for free, but I also happen to know that if I'd paid for them, they would have been about $250 a pop. Now, stadium owners are not hurting, especially when you consider that they often get large considerations from the cities in which the stadiums are located, tax breaks, police protection, everything that they need in order to make gobs and gobs of money. At this point, the only way that you can justify blackout rules at all is just plain old greed. And I gotta tell you, that I understand Major League Baseball is a business. It's a series of businesses, as a matter of fact. But that's not the point. It's also sort of an American tradition. It's a pastime, and I think that more than most businesses, it has a responsibility to give back to people. And especially so because there are such large tax breaks and financial considerations given to team owners. Major League Baseball needs to abolish the blackout rule, and I know that I'm not the only person to say it. I'm just the person who's angry about it today. If a Major League team gets $1, so much as $1 in consideration from any city in which there is a stadium, I believe that not only should there be no blackouts whatsoever, and every game should be available, but those games must be available over the air. Just using nothing but a TV antenna in the broadcast area covered by that team. And I'm not saying you need to go super, super far. I mean, it's the city of Los Angeles, for example, that is suffering right now because many of its residents still can't see Dodgers baseball, despite the fact that the city of Los Angeles pays a ton of money to the Dodgers organization, who, by the way, does not need it. It's made up of millionaires. Millionaires and billionaires, my friends. And yet somehow these folks get huge amounts of consideration while the rest of us have to pay tons and tons of money for tickets. So, what can we do to end this? Well, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I suppose folks could stay away from games, but that's not going to happen. I'm just hoping that the owners of Major League Baseball come to their senses and just do the right thing, just like football did. That's it for me. Have a great week.